New York City's web slinger, Cindy Moon, also known as Silk, has spent the past few years protecting the city. She has spent her time as an Avenger and as a fighter in the Contest of Champions. No matter what, she always gets back up from her fights. Silk is loved by many in the city of New York. However, she doesn't have some people who question her motives. One of these people being J. Jonah Jameson. The 70-year-old head of the Daily Bugle has tried to figure out who Silk is, believing her to be a menace in the same sense of when Peter Parker was Spider-Man. One day, Jameson wants to expose Silk. He would task a new reporter, Andy Benton, to look for anything she could on Silk. Andy agrees to this, and she finds word that Silk is facing a new Electro at a science convention. Silk tackles Electro from killing a scientist in doing so, unleashing a small goo that looks alive. Electro blasts Silk away and attempts to kill her, but she is tossed to the side by a new mysterious hero. Silk is confused until the hero reveals her name to be Jackpot. Together, Silk and Jackpot are able to take down Electro. However, she escapes. Andy sees this and tries to follow her without knowing that the small goo has climbed its way onto her. An hour later, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Felicia Hardy, also known as Black Cat, arrives to help with cleaning up at the convention. Silk asks her what this Electro could have wanted, and Silk explains that this new Electro's name is Francine Fry, and she was once a lover of the original Electro. Black Cat says she'll do what she can to find Electro before she leaves, she finds a nice shiny necklace on the ground, and as she's about to take it, Silk uses her webs to grab it, and Black Cat says old habits die hard. Silk puts the necklace back and runs into Jackpot. The two converse, and Silk thanks her for helping her with Electro, and Jackpot explains that it was an honor to fight with her and hopes to do it again sometime. Later that day, Andy reports to Jameson, and in typical fashion in many universes, he is displeased. He threatens to fire her, and this makes Andy a tad angry. While making her way home, Andy sees the goo and tries to flick it off. However, it grabs onto Andy's skin and begins to cover her whole body, revealing to be a symbiote. When the suit fully covers her, she simply speaks the word Electro. She then launches herself into the night. In the Bronx, Cindy is at a cemetery speaking to her father as she wonders how she can begin to make a normal life for herself, when being a hero is most of what she knows. Just then, her spider sense goes off and she sees in the distance what looks like lightning blasts. She makes her way to the scene as Electro looks like she's fighting for her life against the symbiote. The symbiote punches Electro into a power conduit that allows her to vanish away. Silk attempts to speak to the symbiote, but she doesn't say a word. So Silk names her Silence. Silence then launches herself at Silk, and the two begin to fight. Silk sees that Silence is similar to her friend Venom, so she tries to find a way to make loud noises, but is unable as Silence grabs her. Silence grabs Silk by the throat and says the word death. Just then, the lights across the whole city go dark. Silence puts Silk down and launches herself away. Silk is confused as to what's happening when she gets a notification from Black Cat saying that Electro is at an old Oscorp grid and it looks like she is absorbing the energy. Silk is concerned, so she makes her way there, but decides to make a pit stop. In her house, Sarah Errett is trying to get power on when she hears a tap on her window. She turns around to see Silk. Sarah is confused, and Silk explains that she knows who she is and asks for help. She can't get help from the Avengers as they are dealing with a threat in Egypt. Sarah agrees and she takes out her suit. So Silk and Jackpot make their way to the grid to see that Electro is soaking up all the grid's energy. Electro laughs at the two and explains that she will do what her ex couldn't do, be seen as a god. She sends Electro blasts at the two and they move away from it, just to see Electro-made monsters come towards them. Silk and Jackpot fight the monsters as Electro continues her mission. Jackpot tells Silk to go after Electro as she will deal with the monsters. Silk agrees and then makes her way to Electro and begins to fight her. The two's fight goes across the grid as Jackpot continues to fight the Electro monsters until she sees someone come toward Electro and Silk. Silk senses this and sees that Silence is back. Silence punches Silk out of the way and makes her way to Electro, almost strangling her. But then Jackpot throws a giant rock at Silence to get her attention, and Silk surprise attacks her and the two attempt to take down Silence. Electro sees this and runs away from the fight. Silence sees that Electro is escaping. She is able to knock out Jackpot and makes her way to Electro. Electro asks why she's after her, but Silence simply says that death is coming. Silk comes from behind and asks what she means, and Silence says that Electro is the reason for her awakening, when she never wanted it. Silk asks what she means, and Silence explains that she was split from her original host a long time ago, and she doesn't want to be around when the end comes. Silk tells Silence that killing isn't the way, and Silence asks Silk if she knows what it's like to lose people, and Silk does understand this, and explains that things in her life made her who she is, and maybe the new life she can build with this new host can make it better for her. Silence thinks for a moment and lets go of Electro and reverts back to Andy Benton. She says to Silk that Jameson is wrong about her, and Silk laughs, saying that Jameson always has a hate for spiders. Andy reverts back to Silence and punches Electro in the face, knocking her out, and Silk runs away. Silk webs Electro and goes to check on Jackpot. The two wait for Black Cat and Shield to arrive to pick up Electro, and Jackpot says that she hopes that they can work together again sometime, and Silk doesn't see why not.